Live from a hollowed-out tree stump in the middle of no man's land, you reach Married with Comedy with Jeff Onyx and Joe Chandler. Strap in, boys and girls, and keep your arms and legs in the vehicle at all times, cause it's gonna get bumpy.
Bumpy. Welcome to Married with Comedy. I'm Jeff Onyx, and so today we're gonna have a bunch of stuff going on, some special stuff, and Joe and Jay are gonna jump on the show with me in a little bit here, and it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a fun show. So I made some changes to some of my stuff, so if I'm a little discombobulated, that's what's up with the what's up. So I see myself as very washed out, but then I went and looked at it, and I don't seem as washed out when I'm watching the playback of it. So, all right, so we're gonna do This Week in Comedy, or we're gonna do trivia, This Week in Comedy History, Ghetto Chef, Science Denier of the Week, Conjecture of Fact, Outpost Survival Tip of the Week, Back in the Day, Gossip Time with Joe Pontificates, The Breakdown, Pathetic Pet of the Week, and Trivia. So it's gonna be fun. So we're gonna start off with Trivia Snap. Today's trivia question of the day is: which kind of bulbs were once exchanged as a form of currency? Which kind of bulbs were exchanged as a form of currency? So that is the Trivia Snap. So, all right. So this week in comedy history, we're going to have this person here. Here we go. That person. Boom. Chonda Pierce. Now, those of you who've never heard of this lady, I've known this lady for a long time. When I worked in Christian radio, this lady was around. So, all right. So, born Chonda Ruth Pierce on March 4th, 1960 in Covington, Kentucky. Chonda Pierce. Chonda Pierce is a Christian comedian, often billed as the Queen of Clean. Pierce got her start in comedy during a 6-year stint at a theme park in Nashville, Tennessee called Opryland, USA. A theater arts major from Austin Peay State University, Pierce went on to the park Pierce went to the park to pay her college bill. Not knowing how to dance, she had to memorize jokes from Grinders Switch, Tennessee, and impersonate Cousin Minnie Pearl. Having had a troubled childhood, Pierce used entertainment as a needed catharsis, reporting, "I was hooked. I loved the sound of an audience laughing. It was just the medicine I needed." Pierce has gone on to appear numerous times on stage at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee. She's written 8 books, and she became a highly sought-after Christian comedian, having 5 gold certified comedy albums and 2 platinum albums. Pierce has an ongoing concert calendar, and her comedy segments also frequently appear on XM Radio's Laugh USA and Sirius Satellite Radio's Blue Collar Comedy 103. Pierce is a member of the Christian Comedy Association, but outside the comedy, she is a spokesperson for World Vision and works with various other Christian leaders and organizations. So you might not know that I used to work in Christian radio, and almost every time she came into town, when our radio station ran her commercials, I was the guy that did the voice. I voiced all her commercials for the Kansas City area when she came through Kansas City for our radio station. I don't know if they used it on other radio stations, but I did her voice. I mean, I did the voice for her her stuff when it was here. So yeah. So that is the that was this week in comedy history. So, and I'm getting used to where all the buttons are because I've moved all the buttons. I moved where everything is. What is that? What is that? What is this? What is that? What is that? There's something right there. What is? Oh, no. What is that? Okay, I'm wondering what that is. Is that this? Is that this? Is that this? Is it this? No, it's got to be up from there. It's got to be up. That's really, really weird. I see something on my screen and I don't know what it is. No idea what that is. Man, it's really bugging me too. I wish I knew what that was. Oh, 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 oh. Man, I can't figure it out. I'm going to figure out what that thing is. And if you know what that is, you don't even know what I'm looking at. I see this white thing on the screen and I'm wondering what it is. And I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. Oh, oh. You gotta be kidding me. It was my pen that whole time. Oh, shut up. That's so funny. Hey, Richie. Howdy, howdy, howdy. There's too much light on my face and I'm washed out some. Well, that's that. I'm gonna have to change that. Change that one of these days. You know what I ought to do is I ought to shut that light off and just have this one. I wonder if that would change anything. Let's see. You guys can be my my guinea pig, or I'm gonna be the guinea pig, and you're gonna tell me if that helps. If that helps at all. Now I got it over on this side. It's over here only. And there's none coming from over there. So it's only over here and there's like nothing over here. So I got like a dark side and a light side. Well, you tell me in the chitty chat. You tell me in the chitty chatness Everdeen if the lighting is better now. All right. So Ghetto Chef. All right, I was going to bring a demonstration of Ghetto Chef to show you what it is that I'm talking about. But if all you have is flour and salt and maybe an egg, you could use olive oil if you don't have egg. Flour, salt, water. You know, most people have water. So, you know, oh, that's not any better? It's weird. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to switch lights. I'm going to go like this. Turn this one back on. And I'm going to turn this one off. Because this one is way closer to me. There. Oh, yeah, that's way better. Oh, yeah, that's way better. Yeah. That is 100% better. Oh, my gosh. That's way better, bro. Way better. I mean, it's from my perspective, that is way better. Anyway, so if you have flour and from like your commodities box, and you have water from whatever, you mix some of the flour together with some of the water, and you don't make it too thick. Don't make it too thin. Sort of make it thick enough that you can use it like Play-Doh, like the consistency of Play-Doh. And you roll it into like a snake. And you could either roll it into a snake, like a fat snake, or you can roll it into a thin snake. If you're rolling it into a thin snake, then you can twist it around like a pretzel because it's a pretzel. So what I like to do is do the sticks though. And then after you do the, make the shape that you want, put it on parchment paper, and then egg wash the thing. There are a lot of different ways you make egg wash. Basically, you take an egg and you whip it, and you can mix a little bit of water or a little bit of milk in with it, and then you brush that on to the every all around top, bottom, all around of the thing, the pretzel, and then you sprinkle some sea salt on it, or salt if you don't have sea salt, it's table salt, and throw that in the oven. 400 degree. I did 400 degrees for 15 minutes. You could do, 425 for 15 minutes, whatever, just until it gets golden brown, or if it's fully cooked. I made the mistake of not making the egg wash properly, so it didn't brown. It just turned into like a bread color, but it tasted exactly like a pretzel. So that's basically ghetto pretzels. So if you ever wanted to make ghetto pretzels, that's how you make ghetto pretzels. Okay, so flour, water, salt, egg wash, or olive oil. That's the other thing. If you don't have egg wash, you can just brush it with olive oil. I haven't tried using vegetable oil or canola oil or peanut oil or any of the other oils. And some people say you can take water and baking soda and make a water and baking soda mix, and then dip it in the water and baking soda mix, and then throw it in the oven, and it's supposed to create that same sheen around it. I haven't tried that either, but that's another thing you could do if you wanted to. So the ghetto chef suggestion is make yourself some pretzels. And kid you not, dude, I love making those ghetto pretzels. So that's the ghetto chef. Um, if you are a fan of the show, you could send us fan mail, care of Comedy Vets, PO Box 369, Lathrop, Missouri 64465. If you are a angry feminist, you can send us hate mail, MALE, care of Comedy Vets, PO Box 369, Lathrop, Missouri 64465, and you could send us some mail. So yeah, bye Richie. Yeah. So anyway, so we've done trivia snap, and we've done this week in comedy history, and we've done ghetto chef. You know what I think it is with the lights is that I tried to apply a LUTs and I think I deleted it or shut it off. A LUTs is a lighting thing, like a filter for lighting. I think I might have tried to apply one and shut it off. Another thing that I did was I turned the lights more toward me, which I think I should have turned them, more away from me, kind of thing, like so that the lights aren't directly on me, but they're bouncing off. Let me try that. You guys play along with me, man. Yeah. Okay, so let's try this. Let's turn the light. Turn that light that way. So there's less light on me. And turn this light on. And then turn it like that. So there's less direct light on me. There. Less. Oh, hold on. I'm going to say less direct light. There. That's better. Yeah, that's way better. Less direct light on me. So, yeah. Actually, I like that. That's nice. Because I can see still. Because the other way I was trying it, I couldn't really see what I was doing. But this way I could see what I'm doing. I'm going to try to get Jimmy on the phone. It's James R. Freeman's turn to be jumping on the horn with me. So we're going to grab him on the phone. I was going to tell them that they are the ones that are supposed to call me instead of me calling them. But I keep forgetting to tell them that they're the ones supposed to call me instead of me calling them. Like that. Okay, so you're on the show. You can hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what you've missed is we did the trivia question of the week. This week in comedy history, which was a Christian comedian. Ghetto chef thing, which is Ghetto Pretzels, which is actually, they're really good. Ghetto Pretzels. So I sent you the information about who we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing, we're going to start off with the Science Denier of the Week. The Science Denier of the Week. By the way, for those of you who don't know, the Science Denier of the Week is basically we do a historical figure who's a scientist or does something with science. And at the time, people thought that that person was insane for questioning the settled science of the day. Okay. So, all right. So that's what's going on.
All right.
So, oh, I still have that Chonda Pierce chick on the thing. I got to get her off of there. All right. So, George Mendel, the father of modern genetics. Are you familiar with this guy?
I know a little bit about the eugenics.
So, we live in a time when you can find out what kind of diseases are lurking in your genetic code because they do this thing called a genetic audit. Is that what it's called? I think it is. So Melissa and I went through that to see if we wanted to have kids, and how genetically I'm screwed up and how genetically she's screwed up and what we're going to pass on to our kids. And that's something that, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, not that many people were even talking about, right?
Right.
So, so basically, more or less everyone accepts the general idea that there are genes, that we have genes, that there's a genome and that we have genetic code, right? Pretty much everybody believes that right now, right? You believe that?
I am not sure what I believe simply because all I know is they're not telling us the truth.
Yeah. Okay. So basically genes they determine our physical appearance, some of our capabilities apparently. And this guy Gregor, I call him George. Gregor Mendel. I called him George Mendel.
Yeah.
I was thinking George Lopez because but Gregor Mendel. So according to Nature, the magazine or the book, whatever, Mendel was born in what is today called the Czech Republic. Well, I mean, I don't know if it is today. Okay, after the stuff that's been going the last couple of days, but okay, so he was born in a place that modern times called the Czech Republic. He was born in 1822. His family was poor, and he wanted to get an education. So the only way he could do that to afford it was to become a monk. So he could work as a monk in a monastery to get an education. So,
right, that was common.
So when he was going through his schooling, he started messing with growing different plants and breeding different plants, and he settled on pea plants like pea pods. So he spent a lot of time messing with pea pods, and he noticed something that apparently nobody else at the time had noticed, that there was a pattern to how many peas grew in certain plants. Like he could cross pollinate different plants to make them grow to have more peas in the pod, and he could determine which plants that he was messing with would have more peas in the pod. And even to the extent that he almost could tell how many peas were in each pod. Like he could go, that one has 5 peas in that pod, or that one has 6 peas in that pod, or whatever. You know what I mean? Beforehand. Like that plant's going to grow and it's going to have 5 peas in each pod. So he discovered the principle of genetic inheritance, and he coined the term dominant and recessive. He wasn't talking about genes though, because he didn't understand genes, but he said these plants have dominant traits and these plants have recessive traits.
Okay.
And now we use those terms to genetic traits, but at the time he didn't use the term genetic or genes. He just said that
Okay.
this plant had dominant traits or recessive traits. So at the time, nobody believed what this guy was doing. He was like, "Yeah, I could tell the recessive traits and the dominant traits in these different plants," and people were like, "You're out of your mind, out of your mind." And then there were a couple of the people that were in his circle. They would call them peers, scientists or whatever, and they tried to replicate his experiments, but instead of using pea plants, they use hawkweed plants. But the hawkweed plants reproduce asexually. So genetic traits don't cross over from one plant to another or from that plant to another plant.
Hmm.
But nobody knew that at the time because he was messing with specific types of plants. So everyone concluded, because they couldn't duplicate what he was doing, that he got things all wrong and he was stupid. But now we know that this guy right here, who was like a monk and became like a priest later on,
Hmm.
that we know that what he was doing was accurate and true. So genes, recessive genes and dominant genes.
Hmm.
Which
Kind of funny, isn't it?
what's really funny about that, haha funny, is that at the time that Darwin's theory of evolution came out, which was around this time, they didn't know anything about genetics. And if they had known about genetics, then Darwin could have went out to the Galapagos and did some genetic testing on these different animals and noticed differences and similarities in the animals that he was testing, and tested genetic traits of animals that he thought were so far removed from other similar animals, and found that they're actually genetically very similar. You know what I mean? Like those finches
Right.
and the Galapagos turtles. And he thought the Galapagos turtle, the reason that they were so large was because that there was it was an evolutionary thing, when in reality it was just because they were there so long and other tortoises in other places weren't there long enough to grow that large.
Right. Well, and I mean, there's a lot of the origin of species and the theory of competition that has holes in it, but people think that it's a settled argument, and it's not, and it never was.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that.
well, it's simple. If you're telling me that species that dominate because they develop certain traits through mutations, survive, and that the other species die off, then we didn't come from apes by that theory.
Yeah, no, yeah,
It's impossible because they're still here.
right. Because
So then,
because then they would have died off, because we
right,
would have had dominant traits and they would have had recessive traits, and the
they would
recessive
have had to,
traits would have won.
mutate and adapt or die off. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Sorry.
yeah.
We're almost talking over each other. We're so excited to spit that up.
Yeah, what's funny is we both have a similar view on this whole thing. So, and
Right, without having the same view, right?
well,
Because
it's
our research avenues and our life experiences have all been different. So,
yeah. Well, and like what's the other one? Dolphins. Okay, so
mm,
dolphins you wouldn't think are genetically similar to humans, but we're more genetically related to dolphins than we are to chimpanzees or apes.
right. In fact, a lot of people talk about us having you know, same genes as apes and whatnot, but the only real factor that they measure is the rhesus factor, and then the rhesus has a tail.
Yeah, yeah,
They're not apes; they're monkeys.
yeah.
And 85% of the population has their DNA in there.
Right, right.
So I got a question for you. Is anybody paying attention?
You know what else? Okay, so speaking of dolphins, here's some stuff I
Right.
recently
Yeah.
learned.
Yeah.
Here's some stuff
Candy.
I recently learned about dolphins.
All right.
Dolphins are one of the only creatures in the entire animal kingdom that commit murder just for fun, for no other reason other than fun. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about the shark thing?
No, they go after other dolphins. They go after infant dolphins. They kill infant dolphins, like large groups of infant dolphins were killed by other dolphins. Dolphins will go after other animals and people just for the hell of it. Just because.
Well,
They also are one of the only animals in the entire
how do you
animal.
measure that? How do you measure a dolphin's reason for attacking
Well, no,
someone?
they're not saying that. They're just saying that the reason isn't food because they didn't eat it. It's not territory because they weren't threatened by the baby dolphins or some of the other things that they attacked. They weren't threatened by them. Those animals that they killed weren't diseased, so they weren't getting rid of disease. So the only after looking at all the different reasons why those animals were killed by the dolphins would be the dolphins killed them for fun. Like when they were doing it, they videotaped it. When they were doing it, the dolphins looked like they were having fun doing it. Another thing about dolphins,
Because they were smiling.
well, which may lead to why they committed the murders that they did. Um, Dolphins are one of the only animals in the other than humans on the entire planet that get high for pleasure.
Yeah. Elephants.
Elephants get high for pleasure too.
Well, they eat those fermented berries or whatever and they get drunk. That's close enough.
Dolphins will seek out pufferfish to take one little nibble off the pufferfish, which causes them to have a psychedelic trip because it's not enough poison to kill the dolphin, but it's enough
Right.
poison to make the dolphin literally high. So a dolphin will seek out a pufferfish, bite the pufferfish, and then just lay there like high and make them noises and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Like I had a friend who had a dog. I guess at one point in its life, it licked one of them toads that had the secretion on its skin.
yeah, yeah.
And he said that dang dog looked for toads after that.
We have a dog that licks tree frogs. We have tree frogs. And
He
we have
would pick the toad up, put it in its mouth, and toss its head around a little bit and then spit it out.
a dog that does it. Susie dog.
Yeah.
She'll find tree frogs, pick them up, put them in her mouth, and then spit them out because the poison is messing with her. And we told the vet that she'll do that, and then she'll like run around like licking her face and stuff and just acting weird. And the vet was saying that it's because she's getting high off of the frogs, and we need to keep an eye on her because if she does it too much, she could actually die from it. She could
What a way to go, right?
she could overdose.
That's funny.
And we're like, "Come here, little Elvis, stop doing that."
Oh man. Don't die on the toilet.
Yeah,
little
don't die on
Elvis.
the toilet. Well, and that's what they're doing out in the backyard. They're taking a dump, so she'll get high and then take a dump
Right.
and then, you know, croak.
That's funny.
So that was the science denier of the week.
I like that one.
Did you? That one was fun. Well, this next one you're gonna really like. This next one is called Conjecture or Fact.
Yeah.
Conjecture
like
or Fact. And this one is giants.
Giants. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about giants today, and I'm gonna go through the different things. I'm gonna read 10 instances of giant discoveries, and then you can weigh in on each of these, what you know about them, about these different instances, and then at the end you can give me some other mentions that you know of. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Giant bones found at Lake Delavan, Wisconsin in 1912.
Mm-hmm.
According to a report that ran in the New York Times May 4th, 1912, 18 gigantic skeletons buried in charcoal and baked clay were found at Lake Delavan in Wisconsin, the discovery was made by the Phillips brothers while excavating a burial mound. They were presumed to be the remains of an unknown race of people who once called the area home. Although they appeared to be very much human, there were some noticeable differences aside from their much larger size. The bone above the eye socket sloped straight back, and the nose appeared to be much higher than the cheekbones, as opposed to it being more or less within the same line. The jawbones themselves were described as bearing a minute resemblance to the head of a monkey. These giants apparently were the only ones found in Wisconsin. But in 1891, the New York Times also reported that scientists from the Smithsonian Institute had discovered giant remains while investigating burial mounds. Let's see. In the ancient city of Aslan, near Madison, Wisconsin. 6 years later, in 1897, the Times published another report about the discovery of a 2.7 meter, 9-foot tall skeleton in nearby Maple Creek. So while reports stated that the findings would be further studied and investigated, there appeared to be no reports and no conclusions about it. Nobody concluded that it was fake. Nobody concluded that it was real. There was nothing else about it.
That's a real good conjecture or fact, because there is no discernible answer.
Yeah. Well, and that's only
on that.
That's only number 10. That was number 10.
Say just on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Number 9, the Giants of the Valley. The Giants of the Valley. Giants of Death Valley. Found in 1947. Okay. So in 1931, F. Bruce Russell, a former physician from Cincinnati, announced that he had discovered a series of tunnels and caves under California's Death Valley in the Mojave Desert. With his colleague, Daniel S. Bovine, not Bovine, the two men explored the caves exclusively. They were the only two people exploring it. According to the story Russell told Howard E. Hill, they found several human skeletons, each 9 feet tall. He told the story at a meeting of the Los Angeles Transportation Club, and the apparent find was reported in the San Diego Union newspaper on August 4th, 1947. The skeletal remains were apparently mummified, and Bovee stated that he felt their age to be around 80,000 years old, because he was totally an expert on it. Within the network of tunnels and caves, or tunnels and caverns, the pair found what they proposed was an ancient people's ritual hall. Not ancient people's, but a ritual hall, where they found markings that appeared to be very similar to those used in Masonic societies. Hieroglyphs were also said to be found that closely resembled those that had been linked with the lost civilization of Atlantis. Come on, man. You gotta add Masons to everything. There wasn't a ritual hall, it was a Mason lodge, idiots.
That's funny.
You stumbled across a lodge. A brother, you ain't a brother. You're not supposed to be on the lodge unless you're a brother. Dummy.
All right, and you said that stuff was petrified?
No, it was what do you say? Mummified.
Mummified. All right.
Mummified, petrified. Yeah. So, what'd you think of that one?
That's an interesting one. I forgot to mention on the last one too. You know, the presence of charcoal and burnt clay or whatever simply meant that it was probably a structured or controlled fire, especially if you got 18 bodies. You know.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much it was spread out, right?
Yeah.
But if that's what you're looking at, I'm surprised I didn't mention that, because it gave some indications of what happened around the bodies.
Well, another thing is, if they were mummified, if they had any clothing on them, and if the charcoal had anything to do with the bodies, if they had cloth on them, that cloth would turn into char cloth.
It would. Yeah. I guess so. Like like carbon, yeah.
Because I make char cloth, for like camping and stuff.
Right, and that's what I was thinking, when you make charcoal, you use fire and wood.
Yeah, and it's a deliberate thing. You gotta manage how much oxygen they get.
Yeah.
But then again, if it's in a cavern, you would expect that once there's a fire going, it'd be hard to get enough oxygen in there, and that kind of a situation, charcoal or char would be more prevalent in a cavern or a cave.
Right. There you go.
Because without fresh oxygen in there, that would happen. Okay. Giant
Yay.
remains found in Varna, Bulgaria in 2015. So Varna in modern day Bulgaria was once the ancient Greek city of Odessos, an important trading post that dates back around 7,000 years. Odessos' mythology was particularly rife with giants. So when what appeared to be a giant human skeleton was discovered there in January 2015, it raised quite a few eyebrows for those who have an interest in such things. The discovery was made by accident, not ancient. Discovery was made by accident. Excavators were digging in the area after they found a jar that appeared to date back to the 5th century. They discovered an unknown fortress wall, and as they continued to dig in order to get to the foundations of the wall, they stumbled upon the amazing find of these giant skeletons. So the skeleton was found with its hands placed on it. It says the skeleton was found with its hands placed on his waist and his head facing to the east. How do they know what it identified as? They're assuming it's pronouns, damn it. Anyway, excavators and investigators believe that he was placed in that position on purpose, indicating that he was most likely of some importance at the time of his death and burial, although no actual height was released to the media at the time of the find. One of the excavators referred to the skeleton as very tall and very impressive. So that was number 8. Ready for number 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get to number 7. Here we go. Enormous remains found in Ecuador in 1964. In 1964, Father Carlos Vaca was a priest in Ecuador who had worked in hospitals. He was called upon by the locals to look at some strange bones that had been discovered. What was particularly strange about the bones was their amazing size. Father Vaca took some of the bones from the mountain where they had been found, and they remained in his house until he died. Australian artifact researcher Klaus Dana was given permission to take the bones back with him to Austria. Oh, Austrian, not Australian. Austrian. With him to Austria to examine and to feature them in an exhibit called Unsolved Mysteries. Klaus claimed that several experts had examined the bones and that they do appear to be human from the size of the bones they have, including complete shin bones. Klaus estimates that the person who they belong to would have stood about 25 feet tall.
Wow.
This is the first one, would have been 25 feet tall. In an interview with Project Camelot, Dana claimed that he had subjected the bones to DNA tests courtesy of an Austrian archaeological DNA specialist, and that no strands of DNA could be obtained. This led Dana to conclude that the bones had to be over 10,000 years old, at the very least, because you can't get DNA from old stuff, apparently. He claimed that in the same interview that the area where they were first discovered translated as Cemetery of the Giants from the local Aymara language. Aymara language? Okay, have you heard of that one before?
No.
Yeah. Dude, I am so tired of these ads playing, man. I hope those don't
Yeah.
go over the radio thing because I don't have the other headphones on. So, okay, number 6. Ready for number 6?
I am ready.
Giant mummies found in the tunnels near the Colorado River in 1909.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. So, according to a report in the Arizona Gazette, which is nowhere near Colorado. Wait a minute. The Colorado River goes through Arizona. Okay.
Gotcha.
According to the report in the Arizona Gazette, in April 1909, while rafting on the Colorado River, explorer G.E. Kincaid made several remarkable discoveries. He claimed he had noticed a tunnel that took him almost 1.6 kilometers or 1 mile under the ground. He encountered a fortified secured area at the end of the tunnel in which he found copper weapons and tools, a large statue which Kincaid claimed looked very similar to Buddha, ancient tablets that were carved with strange hieroglyphs, and perhaps most fascinatingly, several 9-foot tall mummies, all wrapped in dark shrouds.
Hmm.
But if his claims weren't controversial enough,
Mhm.
Kincaid added a little conspiracy fuel. Why is my thing playing? Stop. Okay. Conspiracy fuel to the fire when he stated that government had purposely sealed and closed off the area so the public would not be aware of its existence. The Arizona Gazette headline also stated that the finds were an indication that an ancient tall people had migrated to the United States thousands of years ago from Asia. But the government covered it up.
Yeah, that's what they do best.
Damn them covering it up.
But
Whatever.
hey, they do want what's best for us when it comes to COVID. So I
Right.
want to make sure you understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
like with other stuff like ancient knowledge and diet and health and basics on life
You know what
skills,
none
none of that's important. But
it trips me out though. I contacted so Melissa contacted our doctor because she has like burning in her stomach like an ulcer. So I contacted the doctor and said I have a burning feeling like an ulcer. But instead of them saying, "Hey, what are you eating? Stop eating that," they told us both to take Prilosec.
right.
Why don't you just tell us to stop eating whatever it is that's acidic, or stop taking whatever pills it is that's causing this? You know what I
Well,
mean?
and I told you just take a half a teaspoon of bentonite clay, mix it up in 8 ounces of water, and drink that 3 times a day for 5 days, and it'll get rid of your ulcer.
Well, switching from soda pop, which I'm drinking a soda pop right now, I switched
Uh,
from soda pop to tea, and I switched from coffee to tea because
yes.
coffee has a lot of acid in it. It's very acidic.
Yeah,
So,
everybody gave me crap for drinking tea all these years, but
man,
who's laughing now?
I was thinking of starting a new segment called um like tea time,
Yeah,
where I just talk about a different tea every week,
yeah, that's cool.
like a different flavor or a different kind of tea from different
Yeah,
companies and different stuff, and where they were,
right.
where that one derived from and whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 5, The Mystery of Lovelock Cave, 1911 through 1929.
Whoa.
Okay, so about 20 miles south of Lovelock, Nevada, you'll find Lovelock Cave, sometimes referred to as Sunset Guano Cave, Horseshoe Cave, or Indian Cave. The cave is said to be older than known human settlements on the continent, stretching right back to antiquity. In 1911, two miners, David Hart and James Pugh, who knew about the cave, took an interest in the guano that was there, and they wanted to extract it because it was very valuable and a key ingredient in gunpowder.
They needed it for mascara.
So they quickly set up a company, and received permission to begin digging. They immediately began to dig this guano. They had no intention for searching for anything, artifacts or anything at the time, but they found okay, so they found some artifacts. So they contacted this dude Alfred Kruber from the University of California's anthropology department, and then the cave the following year was dug up by archaeologists. So archaeologists went in there to dig. So they did archaeological digs in 1924 and 1929. And then over the course of the excavations, they found artifacts. They found 60 human mummies that were average height, like normal height people, right?
Mm-hmm.
With a bunch of weapons and bones and stuff like that. But they also found sandals that were 15 inches long and a giant size handprint that appeared to have been embedded in the cave wall, and then more mummies that were there, and those mummies were between 8 feet and 10 feet tall. Weird. What is interesting, if these finds were indeed true, it's that Puentes, a Native American tribe that inhabited the area for thousands of years, spoke of a race of red-haired, white-skinned giants who they referred to as Si-Techa. Si-Techa. Their home was the recently excavated cave. So they believed that these red-haired, white-skinned giants lived in that cave. The Si-Techa.
And they found a bunch of bones and said there was a bunch of tall giants living in them caves.
Yep. Number 4.
Seems like it's just a myth.
Yeah, it's just a
Carry
myth.
on.
Number 4, giant human finger found in Egypt in 2012.
Giant what?
Human finger. Giant human finger.
Was it the middle finger?
I don't know. It looks like a finger, though. In March 2012, photographs of what appeared to be a mummified human finger was claimed to have been discovered in Egypt, and it appeared on various websites, online media outlets. The digit, the finger, clocked in at 15 inches long.
Wow.
If it's proven to be authentic, then it would belong to a giant person. Despite the alleged photographic evidence, the finger's authenticity has never been verified. As people who took the photograph, they said that the photograph doesn't have. The person who took the photograph don't have the finger, so they don't know what to do with it. So according to the original story, the photos were taken in 1988. And then this guy paid $300 to an unknown man who claimed to belong to a grave robbery dynasty. And he said, "You can take these pictures for $300." So the unknown man also presented them with X-rays and a certificate to prove that it was a human finger, something he'd obtained in the 60s. So there's a grave robbing society that shows off their stuff periodically. So,
well, you know there is a grave robbing society because they took Geronimo's bone. Oh wait, never mind. Sorry.
So this guy went back to Egypt and he couldn't find any information or the whereabouts of the finger or its origins or where it came from. But there are stories about giants living in Egypt and Rome. Flavius Josephus, he wrote about giants in the history of the Jewish war, and he said there were giants much larger and shaped differently than normal people, and they were terrible to behold. Pretty crazy. Okay, number 3.
Okay.
Aleutian Island discovery, 1940. Ivan T. Sanderson was a popular, respected zoologist who regularly appeared on TV to disperse his wisdom. One of his strangest tales, however, concerned a letter that he'd received from an engineer working in Shamia on the Aleutian Islands in 1940 during World War II. The Aleutian the Aleutian Islands sit between Alaska and the easternmost part of Russia and divide the North Pacific and the Bering Sea. So the United States, they were using that area as a base, so they could spot potential ships and airships that might attack. So they were bulldozing a hill to flatten the ground to make an airstrip, and they came across a graveyard of human skulls and leg bones. But all of the bones and leg bones were 3 times larger than a standard adult. So
interesting. So that's weird because that's another graveyard too, where they're finding a bunch of the bones.
yeah, a bunch of them. Yeah,
It makes you wonder how they got there too, right?
yeah. And the legs, like one of the legs measured 24 inches from top to bottom, as opposed to a regular 8 inches for a leg bone. So a leg bone normally is 8 inches, but this one was 24 inches for that specific bone. So craziness. Whatever. Then he received a letter from some people they claimed to be from the Smithsonian Institute, and they wanted to collect the remains. All the remains were taken by this person claiming to be with the Smithsonian Institute, and they were never seen after that. So,
interesting. Okay, so Smithsonian's involved in all that too, huh?
Well, this is the second time the Smithsonian was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and investigate this, and nothing came of it. The giants of, number 2, the giants of Caucasus Mountains in Georgia.
Ha! I told you about this one.
In 2014, there's a TV show called Unexplained Files, and in 2014, they did this episode about an ancient giant civilizations in the Caucasus Mountains. In 2008, local herdsmen had stumbled upon a supposed grave of giants. A group of Georgian researchers soon followed up on the account, speaking to the man who made the discovery as part of their investigation. He informed them that he had came across a stone-built crypt, like it was a stone crypt, and after gaining entrance to it, he discovered 2 huge skeletons sitting at a large table. The researchers ventured into the isolated mountains and densely forested location to see for themselves. They reached the crypt the man had spoken of, but it had since collapsed. However, under the dirt and rubble, a pile of bones was found. They did indeed appear to be human, aside from the fact that they were much larger than a human bone, or human bones. Samples of the find were investigated by Professor Vecua, very respected scientist, who declared if they were indeed proven to be human bones, that the person they belonged to would have been 8 to 10 feet tall. So yeah.
Well,
so he passed the bones. He passed away, and the bones went to a museum, and they were held by the museum, and then they disappeared. Well, all these museums making bones disappear. Is it because it doesn't fit their narrative? Crazy.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of that weirdness going on, but remember I told you about the Caucasus giants.
Yeah.
That's where Caucasian comes from.
Yeah. All right.
Kind of odd, isn't it?
Yeah. One last one. Ready?
All right.
The giant footprints found worldwide. This is a worldwide Goliath footprints. There have been several alleged fossilized giant footprints found around the world. Perhaps the most well-known of these is the Goliath footprint in Pulsia, South Africa, a town close to Swaziland. The impression is 4 feet long. It's a 4 foot long foot, and appears to be a perfect match to a human foot. Although there's a debate on exactly how old the Goliath footprint is, they estimate it to be anywhere between 200 million years old and 3 billion years old. Shut the hell up! I know. Come on, stop it.
Because they know.
I guess I know. Other fossilized prints of similar size have also been reported. In 1926, the Oakland Tribune, they had an Oakland Tribune, they ran a story about a 5-foot long footprint on the top of a cliff in San Jose, California. The year before, in 1925, an 8-foot long footprint was discovered in San Jose at the John Bunton Ranch. Set of standard-sized footprints are perhaps more fascinating in relation to the other larger ones. In 1976, anthropologist Mary Leakey reported the discovery of normal-sized fossilized footprints in Tanzania. They looked perfectly human, but their ages were estimated to be about 3.6 million years old. This predates by millions of years the time frame that mainstream science says that modern humans were on the earth. So, all right. So that's the conjecture of fact was
Science disproving itself once again.
giant. So yeah. So we got a lot of giants going on there. So what do you think about them giants?
Well, I like it. And I'll say this, you can go back through each one of those, but maybe whittle them down and maybe this isn't, maybe this isn't that, blah, 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 blah. But what people don't normally do when we do things like this is understand it as a collective list.
Right.
So like with the UAPs or UFOs, whatever you want to call them now, people look at each one and they try to debunk it. What they don't do is look at it as a whole and wonder why we're having these phenomena.
That's why I pulled up a list of the giants, because I was like, okay, you could explain away one. But how can you explain away all these other ones? And the more recent reports of Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran, where soldiers say that they're coming against giants out in the middle of the desert. And they're like groups of them are attacked by these giants, and they fire upon the giants, and it takes them such a long time to kill them. And when they finally kill the giant had already killed a bunch of their dudes, and then the bodies taken away by the government, or the military, and nobody says anything about it. But these guys are like, no, dude, I was there, I saw it. And all of a sudden that person dies of a self-inflicted wound.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's like Phil Schneider. A lot of people, if anyone who remembers Phil Schneider talking about the DUMS before anyone knew what a DUM was, that's deep underground military base.
Yep.
And he had talked about getting into a battle with these 7-foot aliens. So you you put that with the other reports, and it's like everybody else is bigger than us, man. There's a bunch of things going on around here.
Well, and
People
also
ain't telling us nothing.
Also, the mound builders of North America, built mounds that were way more impressive than the pyramids and larger. And inside these mounds, they found remains of larger humans.
Yeah.
So, and some people were saying that the reason for the mounds in the first place were because they couldn't move the giants, and they wanted to bury them because they were afraid their bodies would get up and come back. So they would bury them. So they would kill a giant, bury them. The Native Americans in the area would kill the giant, bury it under a big mound, and then leave it alone and not mess with it.
It's interesting. That's an interesting point.
Yeah. Mound builders.
What do you do with one of them big son bitches after you kill it?
Yeah, and a lot of these mounds, after people do archaeological digs of the mounds, all of the stuff that's in the mounds is removed, and the mound is put back empty in the same exact spot it was, so that people can go visit it and see that there was a mound there, but there's nothing in the mound anymore. So they're basically grave robbing these mounds, taking all the evidence that's in them, all across North America. So like if you buy land somewhere and there's a big hill for like you have a plains, like a field, and in the middle of that field is a big hill, and it looks like a round hill. Most likely that's a mound.
Hmm.
Know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
Know what I'm saying, G? That's what I'm saying. I know what's up. All right then. Man, that was a really good conjecture of fact, man.
Yeah, that was good. I like that one, Jeff.
So Joe Chandler is going to be on the show in like 15 minutes. So I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to go do my back in the day and my Outpost survival tip of the week before Jimmy Joe gets on there. I called him Jimmy Joe. Whatever.
All right.
So on the phone, James R. Freeman, and eventually one of these days I'll get a photograph of him to put up on the screen. So when I'm talking to him, you'll be able to see that I'm talking to James R. Freeman.
Somebody wants to see a picture of me.
Is that the moniker you go by?
What?
James R. Freeman.
Well, I mean, that's the name.
Yeah, it's the name.
But as for the moniker, it was supposed to be just Jay, but too many comedians were crying about that guy.
Yeah, that's my name. Don't wear it out.
So, apparently, you can't use a dead man's name if people liked him. I don't understand that. So,
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Some people say I can't even use my normal name because I'm a dick.
All right, Hefe.
All right,
Take
man.
it easy, man. It was fun as always.
Yeah. All right, peace.
Later.
Whoa, that was good. That was James R. Freeman. Oh, and that was Conjecture Fact. Now it's the Outpost Survival Tip of the Week. So, the Outpost Survival Tip of the Week, and I'm gonna try to. It's too bad I can't actually show you the picture that I'm looking at, because I'd really like to. Okay, I'll just go ahead and throw it up there. The Outpost Survival Tip of the Week is the Farmer's Almanac. I am tripped out about this. Okay, the Farmer's Almanac. We've been watching the Farmer's Almanac for an extended period of time, like reading it. We plant stuff sometimes, and we read the Farmer's Almanac, and they'll tell you when it's time to grow. What's the best thing to do for certain things, and it's been accurate, like 90 something percent accurate all the time since like 1818. This thing's been around, and it's always accurate. So, founded in 1818, the Farmer's Almanac, its timeless appeal has spanned 3 centuries, offering readers a trademark blend of long-range weather predictions, which are almost always correct. Long-range weather predictions, which are almost always correct. Humor, fun facts, and valuable advice on gardening, cooking, fishing, conservation, and much more. Preserving stuff, doing like preserving food, what do they call it? Canning and stuff. Farmer's Almanac has had several editors. Poet, astronomer, and teacher David Young Phillum held the post for 34 years from the day he published from the day he and publisher Jacob Mann first founded the Almanac Publishing Company in Morristown, New Jersey. Following Young's death in 1952, a string of successors took the helm, beginning with astronomer Samuel Hart Wright. In 1933, Ray Geiger took over as the 6th editor of the Farmer's Almanac and began what became the longest running and most colorful editorship of the Farmer's Almanac history. Let's see. He did that for a bunch of stuff. He was stationed in the Philippine Islands, in New Guinea, and Australia, and he worked all through the war. In addition to editing the Farmer's Almanac, Ray also proved to be its champion promoter. He traveled the country, going from radio to TV, including several appearances on The Today Show, The Mike Douglas Show, Art Linkletter's House Party, David Letterman's Show, Good Morning America, many, many more. Let's see. He was the most interviewed man in America, and it increased the circulation of the Farmer's Almanac from 85,000 to over 6 million people they got it. In 1949, the rights to Farmer's Almanac and Almanac Publishing Company were purchased by Anne and Ray Geiger, who maintained the editorial and publishing responsibilities, but had the Geiger brothers, the nation's largest family-owned and managed promotion company, distribute and do the production. In 1955, the Almanac Publishing Company moved from Newark, New Jersey, to its current office in Lewiston, Maine. In 1944, upon completion of his 60th consecutive edition, Ray passed the editorial reins on to his son, Peter, who had been serving as associate editor for 15 years. Peter, who also serves as executive vice president of Geiger, hired Sandy Duncan to serve as managing editor with him. Sandy was the first woman editor in 1978. Sorry, first woman editor in 178 years to hold an editorial position. Peter and Sandy Duncan continued to edit the Farmer's Almanac in a manner that continues to make this publication timeless, trusted, and treasured. Today, there are 3 versions of the Farmer's Almanac. There's a retail version sold throughout the United States in supermarkets and retail outlets and bookstores. There's a promotional version, which is sold at cost-effective marketing, sold as cost-effective marketing for businesses, that has like the business logo on it. And then there's a Canadian version, which contains exclusive Canadian weather predictions and articles. So we've been using the Farmer's Almanac for, a couple years now. And I was amazed. I was amazed that the Farmer's Almanac has been really accurate. I mean, more accurate than a lot of the stuff that you see on, what do you call it? On the news. Like you see the weather on the news broadcasts, and they can't get their weather straight, but the Farmer's Almanac is like really, really accurate with their weather predictions. Like when the frost will end. This is when you should plant. This is optimum weather to plant. And then, you got to harvest around this time. And the specific plants, if you're doing like wheat or corn or onions or green beans or peas, whatever, you can look in the Farmer's Almanac, and they'll tell you what the best time to plant them, to prepare the ground to plant them, and to harvest them. So, Farmer's Almanac. Yeah, Farmer's Almanac is kick-ass cool. Yeah, kick-ass cool. So that was the Outpost Survival Tip of the Week. This is back in the day. Back in the day, we had these things called ashtrays. Now, an ashtray is a device, and I know there's ashtrays now, but here's the trippy thing about these. Okay, so this is an ashtray that was passed down from family member to family member. Okay, so the trippy thing about ashtrays is that there were ashtrays everywhere. Everywhere. When I was a kid, we had ashtrays everywhere. We had ashtrays at the movie theater, in the armrest, at restaurants, at auto parts stores, at when you went to get your car worked on, in the waiting room there, at the doctor's office waiting room, at they even had cigarette machines at the doctor's office. Anyway, doctor's office, they had ashtrays in the teacher's lounge at school, in the office. Some of the teachers and the principals and people worked in the office smoked, and they had the ashtrays there. They had ashtrays literally everywhere. Church, wherever anybody would smoke, they had ashtrays. And they were restaurants had ashtrays all over the place. Like almost every restaurant I knew of had an ashtray. They had ashtrays in the armrest, like on the door and on the console of the armrest of vehicles. So you could buy a car, and not only did they have an ashtray in the front where the person was driving, they would have ashtrays in the doors, in the front and the back. And they would have sometimes ashtrays like on the back of the seat. The ashtray would fold down and you would have an ashtray there. They had ashtrays at movie theaters. You'd be at a movie theater. In the movie, you could smoke while watching a movie. And they had ashtrays right there where there's the thing. Now, nowadays, the only time I see an ashtray is like outside of a hospital or outside of a grocery store or a shopping center or something. They'll be outside. They wouldn't be inside. And every once in a while, I'll see them in a bar. There'll be like an ashtray in a bar, but you don't see them in restaurants anymore. You don't see ashtrays in restaurants. You don't see ashtrays in movie theaters, doctors' offices, schools. You don't see them there anymore. So that's why that's the back in the day. And if you wanted to do in the clickety clackety tickety tack and leave a comment about it, where do you remember seeing ashtrays that you don't see them now? You don't see ashtrays there anymore. Is there a place that you would see an ashtray that you don't see ashtrays there anymore? And even if it's one that I've already mentioned, you could let us know where you normally saw ashtrays the most when you were younger or back in the day. Like I said, in the 70s and 80s, ashtrays everywhere. Somewhere in the 90s, they started removing them from places. And then in the 2000s, you rarely saw ashtrays anywhere. And a lot of restaurants took out their smoking section. So there was a smoking section and non-smoking section. So back in the day in like the 70s and 80s, even before then, everywhere in the restaurant was a smoking area. Every table was a smoking table. And then people are like, I don't want to be around smoking. So then they made a non-smoking section. It was a special section for non-smokers. Well, then people kept complaining that the smoking people got better seating than the non-smoking people, and more people were non-smokers than smokers. So that switched. The smoking area became a different, separate, smaller area. Then the non-smoking area became the rest of the restaurant. So then after they had the smoking section, then people said, well, then you can do smoking on the patio outside, and they removed smoking sections from restaurants, at all. Like you could go to Denny's, and there'd be a smoking section in Denny's. Now you go to Denny's, there is no smoking section. There's no smoking at all in Denny's. So, but they used to have a smoking section in Denny's. I remember when there was smoking in the entire restaurant. You can go anywhere in the restaurant and smoke. Then they made a non-smoking area, which was smaller. Then it switched to being a small smoking area and a large non-smoking area. And now it's all non-smoking. Craziness. So back in the day, yeah, Mrs. Onyx is saying the restaurants had smoking section. Yeah, restaurants did have a smoking section. So that's where the back in the day comes from. You know what I think I'm gonna do? I have 1 minute. I'm gonna call Jojo a minute early. I'm gonna call Joji a minute early. Jojo. Joe
Hey,
Wabowski. Joe Chandler. What's up, Joe?
what's up?
What's up? Hey, we just did a segment back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was ashtrays. Remember ashtrays were everywhere back in the day? Like
Yeah.
everywhere. Doctor's office, waiting rooms at different restaurants, and restaurants had ashtrays. Everywhere had ashtrays. Do you remember a place that had ashtrays that no longer have ashtrays? Joe?
Wait, do I know a place that had ashtrays and no longer have ashtrays?
Yeah. Do you know of a place or an area somewhere that had ashtrays before but no longer have ashtrays?
Well, yeah, like restaurants and
Yeah, restaurants are the biggest one. But
yeah, parks even.
parks, yeah, that's one I didn't do. Parks. But I remember I was saying we saw ashtrays everywhere, literally doctors' offices, movie theaters.
Yeah.
In the vehicles had them in the doors and in the backs of the seats and everywhere in the car. Like there were like 5 ashtrays in the car or more. in some cars.
Right.
And you've worked in the restaurant industry. And do you remember when they had the whole restaurant was all smoking? Do you remember those times?
That whole restaurant?
The entire restaurant when I was a kid, there was no non-smoking area. Everywhere was smoking. Every table had an ashtray on it.
I do not remember that.
And then they
Yes.
segued from that to having a small non-smoking section for non-smokers.
Yeah.
And then the non-smoking section switched and became the smoking section was smaller and the non-smoking section was larger. And then it became the whole restaurant. All the restaurants were non-smoking. So do you remember a time when the non-smoking section was smaller?
No.
So you're that old. You're that young.
Yeah. Now I do remember being in a smoking section like all the time because my dad smoked.
Yeah.
But I don't recall if it was bigger or smaller.
Yeah. Well,
that's what she said.
Yeah. And then you worked in the industry. Do you remember ever having to clean ashtrays?
Yeah.
You had to dump the ashes out, and then you had to like put them in hot water and soap and clean them, and then they still smelled like smoke, so you had to like do it again, right?
Oh yeah, we would have cleaned them like that.
You would just dump them and put them back on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Put them through the machine that washes the glasses.
Yeah.
Do you remember that machine? They still have those.
Yeah, they do.
You close the thing that just and then you open it up and they're all clean.
Yeah. It's like a sanitizer though, like it just steams everything.
It steams it. It doesn't actually wash it.
Yeah.
Well, another reason
you wash it first.
Another reason they do the steam thing like that?
Why?
Because it dries faster when it's hot.
It dries faster when what?
When it's hot. Like when you do dishes, if you rinse off your stuff with really hot water,
yeah,
and then put it in the drainer, it dries faster.
Huh.
That's why they do the steam, so it can dry faster. All right, so Joe's on the phone. All right, so we are going to be doing, we're going to do some 3 segments with you. Yes.
Yeah.
So, what's the word on the street, Joe? You hear any gossip going on? What's the word on the street? Gossip time with Joe.
Are we talking about Masked Singer?
I don't know. You're the one that put it on the thing.
Okay, I put 2 things on their thing. Okay.
Well, gossip time. You said something about Ukraine. And the
Ukraine,
other one's Pontificates. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, what do you think about Ukraine?
I think it's none of our business, and I actually know people who are like, why are people messing with Russia? Russia's doing the right thing. They just don't want to be part of NATO, and Ukraine wants to be part of NATO. So, like, take Ukraine back and not be part of NATO.
Well,
and then other people are like, well, Ukraine is its own country. You should leave them alone. I actually watch a YouTuber who's giving live updates from Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like he would normally sit there and play the bass or something and talk or whatever. And now he's like talking about how he sent his kids to Poland. His wife and kids had to go to Poland and men aren't allowed to go. So he's giving updates about different things. Like they fled Kiev. That was where they lived, Kiev. And when the tanks started rolling in, they're like looking down there going, oh man, we better get out of here. So they took off and they got out. Trippy, huh?
Yeah.
So people are actually there, yeah, doing stuff. Did you hear about the old people?
No.
What
about old people?
Okay, so there's old people running around with their little camera or their phones, right? Their smartphones.
Yeah.
Like senior citizen old men and women. And the soldiers are going through and they're like, why are you on my property? Why are you on my property? Get off my property. Why are you here? Get out. You don't belong here. And then they like attack the soldiers. Why are you here? Get off my land. And they'll attack them with like brooms and shit. And then they had Romanian gypsies.
Yeah.
Romanian gypsies came to Ukraine, and they're running around with farmers, stealing parts of the tanks and disabling the tanks and stealing tanks. So they'll run up and they'll disable the tank and steal shit off the tank, and sometimes they'll disable a tank. It's like farmers and gypsies. Isn't that a trip?
Yeah.
So why aren't they
Crazy
watching
gypsies.
this? Why aren't they watching these damn tanks? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That'd be like a cop car rolling into like Chicago and they don't notice that somebody's stealing the light off the top of the car.
Well,
Wait, that happens. I guess they do notice, but in Ukraine they don't notice. The
yeah.
Russians don't notice that things are going down. So
gypsies are tricky.
no, but did you hear they're like not selling vodka?
Yeah, but yeah, they're not selling vodka, but just Russian vodka.
Yeah, they're taking the Russian vodka out, and
Yeah.
I didn't know this was a thing, but Melissa explained it to me, and I was like, "What the hell?" Did you know some states it's illegal to buy alcohol unless you buy alcohol from a state-run liquor store? Like the liquor stores are owned by the government?
Yeah, that's Pennsylvania.
Well, they also do it in Utah, apparently.
Yeah.
That's like amazing to me. You're telling me the government tells you can't sell alcohol, but they're going to sell alcohol? That's just amazing to me. You don't think that's amazing?
What?
Alcohol
Dude,
is
the
highly
government
addictive.
like made an amendment to make all alcohol illegal. I mean, does not surprise me that they try to control alcohol.
That would be like the government saying, we realize that porn is highly addictive, so we're just going to go ahead and make it so porn is illegal unless you get it from our websites.
Well, they're watching it anyways.
Well, they're probably making it too, So I'm gonna tell a new joke. I told you, remember the bank in my area?
Yes.
So the bank in my area got bought out by a company that produces porn. And now on their website, the link to the ATMs means something completely different. That's a good joke, man. I like that. I wrote that one. That was me. But a lot of places I can't even tell that joke because it's not considered a clean joke. Anyway, so
right,
you're talking
even
about
though it's not cussing.
What was your thoughts on the Ukraine thing?
I kind of feel the same way. Like, that we as in America should mind our own business. Now, Europe, on the other hand, that's different because Ukraine does want to, is trying to be part of the EU and yada yada.
I think that if NATO and the UN and the European Union and all that stuff, if they were actually doing something for the people that joined them, they would all be like rallying around Ukraine. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and they kind of are.
Isn't that what Trump said? Trump said, why is the United States going and being like the world police? We shouldn't be doing this, and we shouldn't be paying the most money out of everybody. Everybody here is supposed to be paying something because you're all part of this thing. You're not even paying what you've pledged that you would pay. To pay your fair share. Because remember, people say pay your fair share. And he's like, pay your fair share, damn it. So they should be out there, giving them tools and weapons and stuff like that. I'm telling you, man.
Well, the UN, is it for war though? So they wouldn't supply weapons.
But the UN sends in peacekeepers.
Yeah.
So if the United Nations sends in peacekeepers, they sent peacekeepers into war zones all over the world.
Right.
So the UN should be sending in peacekeepers to keep the peace to protect the Ukrainians. Shouldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, me too. Especially if they're trying to, be part of the UN. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Whatever. You said something about Yakov.
Oh yeah, Yakov Smirnov. You know he's actually from Ukraine.
So he's from Ukraine. They should just send him back to Ukraine.
Yeah. I think Russia is mad that, he left because he's like one of the funniest people in the world, and actually said that with a straight face. And I think Russia wants him back. So we should just send him as a peace treaty. Or it's just a good excuse to get him out of Branson. But,
I don't know if this is true, but I heard about it earlier today. There's
Yeah.
another comedian that had shows that were being booked during this war. They were selling tickets for a show to go see a comedian.
Yeah.
Guess the name of the comedian.
Is he an American?
He's an American. He's an American that got canceled in America.
Oh, well, I was going to say Louis C.K. was the first thing that
It
popped
is.
up. Really?
Apparently,
Okay.
they were selling Louis C.K. tickets on this venue's website in Ukraine. And people were pissed off that they were still selling thing. Mrs. Onyx says never go ATM.
Okay.
Never go ATM. So I don't know if this is true about the Louis C.K. thing, but whatever. Oh
Maybe
yeah,
look that up.
Oh yeah. This is not a joke. Guess who's fighting on the front line for the Russians?
Oh, spied for Russia?
No, he's fighting for Russia right now.
Fighting for Russia.
Who's on the front lines fighting for Russia on the ground right now?
Dolph Lundgren?
No. Who was an American actor who moved to Russia and became a Russian citizen?
I have not heard anything about that. Who?
Steven Seagal.
Are you really?
Really, not a joke. They have pictures
He
and video.
became a Russian?
Yeah, he became a Russian a while ago. So he's
Oh
a
my
Russian
God.
citizen, and he's on the front lines.
So is he actually fighting, or is he using stunt doubles like he does in his movies?
He's actually fighting, but with weapons and stuff. So he doesn't do his fake karate.
That would be cooler.
He runs over there to Ukrainian, and he's like, and the person just falls down because he's moving his hands and hitting him, hitting himself. That's what makes those sounds when he's fighting. Is him hitting himself.
Yeah, it's like a wrestler when a wrestler super kicks somebody, he actually slaps his leg. I mean, he gets his fighting from wrestling.
Super kick. All right, then we're gonna switch gears to.
No. One more thing though, because he mentioned
Steven Seagal.
Romanians.
Romanians, yes.
Romanians, whatever, but
Yeah.
Gypsies.
Yeah, lettuce people.
So did he hear about Jimmy Carr recently?
No, what Jimmy Carr do?
So he's kind of getting canceled, but over in Europe. So I don't know how big of a deal it is, but he said a joke. That so I'm gonna have to paraphrase it, but the Holocaust was a really, really bad thing. Killed like a bunch of innocent people. But one of the good things is it also killed gypsies. So
he said that and he got canceled.
Sort of. I don't think they really cancel people for jokes over in Europe.
They don't give a damn. Nobody cares.
No.
Nobody
I mean,
cares.
they care about child molesters.
In
child
Canada,
molesters, but
yeah, in Canada that would be a crime, and he would go to jail for that.
Yeah.
So, okay,
But,
so what?
but not okay. So not only is he trying to get canceled, or people are trying to cancel him, but people are wanting to like get Netflix in trouble because Netflix is the one that aired it.
Netflix doesn't care. Netflix doesn't care. Just like the whole Netflix and what's his name? Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
They just signed a 10 deal, a 10 special deal with him.
Yeah.
They signed another contract with him.
Because most people know that it's not really hateful. They're not hateful jokes.
So these people tried to cancel him, and it made it better because people wanted to go see what he was saying.
Yeah.
And we're watching it going, what is he saying that's offensive? I don't hear anything he said that was offensive. Not one thing.
But the thing is, it doesn't even offend every trans, you know? It's like 25% of them are upset. Like, everybody else finds it funny, you know?
Yeah.
If you can't laugh at yourself, whatever, you know?
Exactly. All right, so
okay, so
we're switching.
Move on to The Masked Singer.
Yeah, Joe pontificates. So Joe's going to pontificate here about something. What's up, Joe?
Okay. I know you're a fan of The Masked Singer.
I've watched it many times.
Yes. So I actually read a spoiler alert for the new season that's coming in like a week, I think.
Okay.
So they've already aired like the first half of the season or whatever. They've already announced who the first celebrity was who got eliminated.
Oh yeah.
Because when he unmasked the two male judges, Robin and Dr. Ken, both left the stage in protest because they were upset on who was there, the celebrity.
That got voted out.
Well, they were upset
that he was there
because he was on a show because they don't like him.
Okay. Was it Trump?
No, but close.
That would have been badass.
Really close. So take another guess.
I don't know. I really don't.
Okay.
Bill O'Reilly.
Rudy.
Huh? Rudy Giuliani.
Yes.
You know, I heard about that. But I didn't think it was real.
I didn't at first either, but it's because I saw it on multiple sources.
Wow, Rudy Giuliani, and they protested that Rudy was there.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever. You know what I think is
Ken
funny?
was upset because of the way the Trump's cabinet handled COVID.
You know what's funny is all these celebrities that get too political.
Yeah.
And they're the same celebrities that are like they made their career off of just being ridiculous. In other ways, you know, like they would be canceled. They would have been canceled today if they did today what they did when they started their career.
Well, you know who the first person I thought of when he said that was like somebody who got canceled back in the day, who is now like pretty liberal. Well, he had a huge comeback. Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe, yeah.
You remember him getting canceled before cancel culture was a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, but I was in Christian radio, and we saw cancel culture way before y'all were doing it.
Well,
you know what I mean? Because
you guys try doing cancel culture.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Cancel culture was like Amy Grant. Amy Grant divorced her husband to marry some dude, some famous guy. Because she got divorced, a lot of radio stations, Christian radio stations, wouldn't play her stuff anymore. And then when she married a guy who divorced his wife to marry her, then they like rejected everything that they were doing. It's just hilarious because 99% of the time when they're doing that cancel culture stuff, it's not actual church people doing it, by the way. You know that, right?
Right.
It's just angry, stupid people who aren't actually church people.
Are you talking about now or back then?
Back then, it was not even church
Okay.
people. They were just people who were dicks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But that there was a I don't remember what his name was, but a Christian rapper who recently got canceled from his label because he got caught having sex outside of marriage.
But that's so.
So
I don't
is
think
it
that's
that kind of canceling?
Not really, because it's part of the whole the agreement that you make when you start working at a place that has a specific, you know, thing going on. You know what I mean?
Okay, so it's okay for
Like if I went to work at Planned Parenthood,
yeah,
and while I was at Planned Parenthood, I started telling people that adoption is the right way to go and you shouldn't abort your kid. They would kick me out of Planned Parenthood.
and they would wonder why you want a job at Planned Parenthood.
But the point is that there are people like that all over the place. That people go somewhere and they have opposing views, or their views change, and they're asked to
right.
leave the organization or the whatever because their contract is dependent upon them having a specific viewpoint.
Okay. And are you okay with that?
Actually, I am, because, for example, if you're a United States Olympic athlete working for the United States Olympics, or
Right.
that you're part of the Olympic team, and you protest the American flag at the Olympics,
Yeah.
you should never be in the Olympics ever again. You should never be in the Olympics for the United States ever again, because you're there on behalf of that team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I feel you on that.
you're disrespecting the team you're on. So if you're there representing that team, then you shouldn't be there at all. So it's similar
Yeah.
to that. That's not you're canceling that person. It's that person not living up to their obligation to to you know to promote the organization or the thing that's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Well, it does. Now, so I'll
does.
ask you this: are you okay with one example? And there's been many, but Disney firing the girl from The Mandalorian because of her tweets.
But
How do you feel about that?
if she has been hired by Disney
Yeah.
to present a specific viewpoint, or to
Well, she's representing Disney.
that's what I'm saying.
know.
She represents Disney. So while she's
Yeah.
representing Disney, she needs to, you know, follow along with whatever guidelines or whatever that the company says. And if the company doesn't like what she's saying, they can get rid of her and she go to work somewhere else.
Yeah. So you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's no big deal.
Yeah. Well, I just know a lot of right wing people don't like that. They don't like cancel culture.
Yeah, but then again, if it's the other way around, also, like if you went to work for me and I was
Yeah.
running a Christian organization and
Right.
you started working there and then started acting in a way that it didn't fit our, our organization standards, and to fire you, then you shouldn't be able to sue me.
Right. And I don't see. Well, I mean, they can sue you, but I
Wrongful
don't see a
termination all the time.
judge saying that's okay.
What,
I don't
to fire somebody, or to to
No, to
force somebody to
you wouldn't win your lawsuit is what I'm trying to say. If you sue a company for firing you over religious issues, no,
yeah,
that's allowed.
or whatever. See, what the problem I have with cancel culture is, let's say a person tweeted something when Twitter began, 10
Oh yeah,
years ago,
I
15 years ago,
I don't agree with that.
and
Yeah,
somebody
no.
pulls up old stuff that they did and holds it up to today's standards, just like on Facebook. Did you know on Facebook, they're going back to as far as they can in your account and finding stuff to ban you? They're going back to years and years ago, and you said something before they had the policy and applying the policy to what you said before.
Yeah,
That's wrong.
it is. Yeah.
Applying anything that somebody said or did in the past to today's standards is wrong. 100% wrong. Taking down statues, renaming cities, taking historical figures out of school because, whatever. And the biggest one that I'm irritated the most about is Robert E. Lee. It irritates the hell out of me because he wasn't a slave owner, he wasn't a racist, he was a general for the United States who got sent.
But
Hold on, he was a general for the United States who got sent to
yes,
Texas to be a general for Texas. When Texas was brought into the Civil War, he was a general for the Confederacy under the Texas flag, right?
right.
Then,
So
then
just
after the
doing
war,
his job.
well, then after the
That's what
war,
you're saying.
well, I'm saying after the war, he was a general for the United States again.
Yeah, but how far after?
What do you mean?
Because they were talking about getting him and a bunch of other generals for treason, but then Johnson saved them. But like most of the statues, the Confederate statues, are of people who they acted on treason. It was treasoning.
So are they
is what
removing the
they did.
statues because of treason, or are they removing the statues because these people were evil racists?
Well,
People are removing the statues because every one of these people they're saying is an evil racist. When in
that's
reality they weren't an evil racist, because at the time that it was going on, in the
okay,
culture
but
that they lived
I
in,
think
it was not.
the statue should be taken down for the simple fact that they were traitors of the United States and they should not be celebrated in the United States.
Yeah, but that's what I'm
And
saying. You're saying that they were traitors of the United States and they shouldn't be celebrated.
correct.
But what I'm saying is that that's not why they're taking the statues down. Now I could understand if
No,
they were. I could understand if they were going to say, well, these people were traitors, so we should just treat them as war criminals and traitors because they were traitors of the United States. So we should take their statues down because of that. But that's not why they're taking their statues down. They're taking their statues
no,
down because they're
but
saying that they were racist.
it's not necessarily because of them being racist. It's a fact that it represents racism. And let me finish with this because
I'm going to interrupt
I can see you eye rolling,
you.
but no, I know, but I can see you in my head eye rolling. So, anyways, so the statues, what when do you think the statues were made? Were put up?
When do I think they were put up?
Yeah, do you know when they were put up?
I don't know. And some of them were put up a long time ago, and some of them were put up recently.
No, most of them, the Confederate generals and stuff down in the South, those statues were put up in between like the 1910s and 1920s.
Okay.
So way after they were alive.
You mean after they've already died?
Yes, after the war, way after the war. It's not, so they weren't put up to represent the war or, to hate like honor to them after they died in a war. It wasn't that. It was when the KKK started getting big in the South and basically, controlling the government and then getting like Jim Crow laws and was making it, even worse for black people. that's when they started celebrating the Confederate generals.
So when Democrats
it
were voting this
was
in.
so it was basically representing racism.
So that's your what you're saying is it was representing racism because at the time you think that's why they were doing it?
That is why they did it.
Okay, do you know
There are documents saying that that's why they did it.
do you know who
Just like Mount Rushmore is documented on being built by KKK for racism.
Mount Rushmore was also said to have been created by the Masons.
It was, yeah, but that
Do you
not
know who
true.
Davy
It was
Crockett
built
is?
by one person. That's a fact.
Oh, you
Not
know,
built by one person, but like the idea was
Right.
brought upon by one person, not a organization like the Masons.
Do you know who Davy Crockett is?
Yeah.
Do you know who Jim Bowie?
He was a traitor.
Jim Bowie was?
He was a traitor too.
Both of them were traitors?
Yeah, they left the United States because they didn't like the United States. So they left to go to Texas, which was not the United States.
No, they didn't. They went to Texas because they wanted to be like Davy Crockett wanted to be a politician in the United States. Was it a Senate or I think it was a Senate. He wanted to be a senator, and he
was a senator in Tennessee.
He eventually wanted to become president. So he went to Texas because they were offered land down there, but they actually went to the Alamo because at the time they were told that they were going to be given a specific amount of land in Texas if Texas decided to become its own country rather than remain in a state. You know what I mean?
Right. It wasn't a state though.
Right, but I'm saying remain in a territory within. But they were promised positions of like president, vice president, stuff like that.
Right, in a different country.
But David Bowie and not David Bowie, Jim Bowie and Davy Crockett, both of them, they said that if it failed, which they expected it to fail, that Texas would not become its own country, and even if it did, it would still become eventually again part of the United States, and they would become higher up in the government in the United States. So they weren't traitors to the United States. Actually, they were both very patriotic. Anyway, the point being, when they set up their statues down there, did you know they're trying to tear down the statues because they're racists? Because they hate Mexicans?
Wait, which statues?
There's a statue of Davy Crockett and there's a statue of Jim Bowie.
Okay.
Down there.
Oh, you're saying that people are tearing down the statues, saying that
people nowadays are trying to tear down the statues because they're saying they were racists and that they hate Mexicans. Right.
Well, I mean, they just helped steal Mexico's land, but
that they didn't actually steal Mexico's land.
Texas was part of Mexico.
Yeah, but they weren't down there stealing Mexico's land. They were down there in
Alamo.
They
were trying to make it its own country.
They were in the Alamo, which was in an area that was already part of its own territory. It wasn't part of Mexico's territory. It was its own territory that Mexico had already given to Texians, so Texians could have their own territory. But it wasn't a country yet. They were ratifying the country. So that territory was already Texian country, and Mexico invaded an area that they had already made an agreement. This is your land that you can make into a country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then Mexico reneged on the agreement, and Santa Anna went up there to take back the land.
Yeah.
And that's where the Alamo came in. And then after that, Sam Houston, when Santa Anna went after, more land or whatever, finally the Texans, led by Sam Houston, found Santa Anna and took him in custody. And then he signed over the rights to the entire territory again to the Texans, but a larger territory this time. He traded his life for the area because he
Right.
said, "You're going to kill me," and they're like, "Well, no, we're not going to kill you. This is our land, and we're going to send you back to Mexico, defeated as a defeated general." And he was like, "Well, we got to trade something." So they traded Texas. So Texas wasn't stolen from the Mexicans. The Mexican government gave Texas to the Texians. You know what I'm saying, G? By the way,
Yeah,
the only reason I know all this is because I grew up in Texas.
yeah, I know that.
And I went to Robert E. Lee High School. That's why I know a lot about Robert E. Lee.
Oh,
Or, sorry, Robert E. Lee Freshman High School, and then Robert E. Lee High School. And then I went to California, and they put me back in freshman grade because they did it by age in California, but they did it by intelligence in Texas. Isn't that crazy?
oh,
You pass a test, they put you in the grade that you tested at in Texas
yeah.
at the time. In
They can
California, they were
still
like,
do that, but they
in,
don't do it. Yeah,
in California, they were like, "Oh, you're this age. This is what grade you're in." But I have
yeah.
transcripts from Texas that shows that I was in the higher grade. Nope, you're back over here. I was like, whatever, man. Homeboy. So, all right. So that was a good one. Joe pontificated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to do the breakdown now?
Yes. Yeah.
Breakdown. So we are breaking down this movie called Mute. So for people who don't know anything about the movie, I'm going to give the plot summary of the movie Mute. Okay.
Okay.
So Berlin, 40 years from now, is a rolling city of immigrants where East crashes against West in a sci-fi Casablanca type movie. So there's a dude who's a mute bartender, and he has one reason and only one reason to live, and it's a waitress that works at the bar where he works, and he's like madly in love with her. And by the way, the bartender is an Amish mute living in Berlin in the future. So he already has Amish tendencies, yeah? And they have a
Yeah.
huge Amish community there, apparently, in this movie. And in an accident, swimming accident, he got his throat cut, I think by a motorboat, something like that. Anyway, so he got
Yeah.
his throat cut, and so he can't talk. And it's so
Oh,
far. What?
well, you didn't mention that there were doctors who were going
Well,
to
I'm not there yet.
do surgery on him.
Well, yeah, I'm not there yet, though.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Because he's Amish, doctors wanted to do surgery on him, but
Yeah.
he didn't
Yeah.
want the technology, and they had the technology to be able to repair it because at the time they had enough technology where they can give you a new leg, a new arm, vocal cords, new eyeballs, whatever, and they could make it function as if it were a fully functioning item, whatever. So the guy's name is Leo in the thing. So Leo's search takes him deeper into the city's underbelly looking for this chick, right? And an
Yeah.
odd pair of American surgeons. So there are American surgeons that do these weird surgeries on people there, but it's like the black market version of those surgeries. One of the doctors is like a black market surgeon, and the other one is an actual doctor working in an actual clinic, but they both work together also in the black market. And they're both ex-soldiers who used to work together in the military. And one is played by Paul Rudd, and his character is stuck there because he doesn't have any papers to get out of the city. You have to have a passport to get out of the city, and because he's a criminal, he doesn't have papers to get out of the city. He needed fake papers. So let's see. There's a reoccurring clues that let's see. Leo keeps getting clues from somebody on the phone, basically indicating that these surgeons somehow can help him find this chick. So, right?
I missed that.
You didn't know
What?
that? So he
There
was
were.
getting messages on his phone telling him where to find Cactus. Cactus is Paul Rudd's character.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to know where to find the cactus? Here's where you find the cactus. And he was getting those clues throughout the movie. But I'm going to spoiler alert. Did you watch the whole movie?
Yes, I did.
So the pedophile guy,
Yeah.
he was sending messages to Leo using the girl's phone, giving him clues as to where Paul Rudd was.
See, I didn't catch that. I don't know. It
So
was a really confusing movie.
yeah,
So
it was. Every time the dude would get a text message on this old, old phone, it looked
yeah,
like he would get a message. Those messages he thought were coming from the girl,
right.
but they weren't coming from the girl. They were coming from that other guy with the glasses. So everywhere
And
he went,
ha-
it was him being sent there by the guy with the glasses.
okay, so the guy with the glasses, the child molester,
Yeah.
was trying to get that guy to kill his friend.
Well, sort of. He at one point in time said to Paul Rudd, "I've been sending the mute messages using her phone just to fuck with him."
Yeah. Okay.
And Paul
Okay. I
Rudd was like,
remember that now.
"Why are you doing that? You're fucking up my shit." And then punched him a bunch of times and kept telling
Right.
him, "Don't fuck up my shit." So, you know, then all that stuff went down. So
Yeah.
spoiler alert, the chick that he's trying to find was dead. Paul Rudd was her ex-husband, and she had taken Paul Rudd's daughter and was going to leave with her. And Paul Rudd didn't want her to take the daughter, and he killed her so that he could have the daughter.
Yeah.
And the pedophile guy was eventually wanting to get to the little girl. And at the end, it seemed like he was going to have her because Paul Rudd died, and this guy went and took the little girl and to be
Right.
his own daughter. And then Leo surprised everybody by killing the pedophile by drowning him.
That was a pretty cool. It was pretty cool, and they like kind of foreshadowed that, throughout the whole movie, where like
He was swimming and
when
holding
he
his breath.
takes when he takes a drink, he has to like hold his breath, and so he can hold his breath really well.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought that was cool.
See, I thought he was going to steal that little girl's pencil and kill the guy with the pencil. I thought that's where that was going.
Yeah, he was still kind of like out of it though at that time.
Yeah, because the pedophile guy who's a doctor, um, after Paul Rudd dies, takes the little girl and takes Leo and forces surgery on him to give him a new voice box.
Yeah.
And then after it heals and stuff, later on he actually gains the ability to speak. But what's odd is he doesn't speak very much at the end of there. You know what I mean? He's still silent in that last scene with the little girl, remember?
Yeah, but I mean, uh,
I
that's realistic because you go through like 90% of your life without speaking. You're used to not speaking. Just because you can speak doesn't mean you will.
Yeah. Damn,
You
Gina,
know.
we went long today. I thought it was going to do like a quick show today, and I didn't even wait. I just jumped into all my stuff, and I still have 2 segments left.
Right.
So I'm kicking you off the phone so I can hurry up and do my 2 segments.
I gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Good
Okay.
talk.
Was it
Bye.
great? Today's show was good, huh?
Yeah.
All right. All right.
All
Later,
right.
man.
Bye bye.
Boom. So that was Joe. All right. So that was the breakdown. Oh no. Oh no. Boom. That was the breakdown. All right. So we're gonna do the pathetic pet of the week. So we're gonna go in here and do the pathetic pet of the week. The pathetic pet of the week is Piccolo. This is Piccolo. Piccolo. So Piccolo, and then that's Piccolo, and that's Piccolo. That's Piccolo. Piccolo is a Chihuahua mix in Kansas City, Missouri. He's a male puppy, very small, with white, cream, yellow, tan, blonde. He's a fawn. He's up to date on all his stuff. He's at Critter House KC, and there's no story behind him. Thought there was going to be a story. Nope, no story. So there you go. Piccolo. Piccolo is at critterhousekc@gmail.com if you want to go adopt this guy, Piccolo. critterhousekc.com. Okay, so there you go on that one. So we're going to get back to trivia. Snap. The trivia question today was, which bulbs were once exchanged as a form of currency? Which bulbs were once exchanged as a form of currency? And the answer is tulips. Tulips were exchanged as currency back in the day. So that was trivia. Trivia snap. So, yeah. Well, that was the show. So, later. I'm gonna take this off where it says starting soon, because we're not. Where does it say starting soon? Starting right here. Take that off there. We don't need that one on there. And boom. You've been listening to Married with Comedy with Jeff Onyx, with special guest host, sidekick, James R. Freeman, and Joe Chandler. Next week. Later.